Hello there! It is time to review Vilitch the Curseling, the Puppets of Misrule, the Warriors of Chaos faction. So, as it is the norm in these Second Thoughts overviews, I've played through the initial turns, I got a feel for the faction, and these are my conclusions. In the end, as always, I'll give you some army compositions that to try out in your own plays. Now, not an in-depth guide, but will definitely assist you in your gameplay. So, let's go play with Vilitch the Curseling. So for your short victory condition, you need to control 5 settlements located really close to you. Of course, the Red Fortress, the first one, then the Bloodwind Keep. These are basically the capitals of the initial provinces that are close to you. And then you need to occupy, loot, raise or sack 35 different settlements. The reward is plus 30 Winds of Magic, which for Tzeentch is crazy good. They all benefit really well from it, but for Tzeentch it's so good. And yeah, that's really a very straightforward objective. Just control the north a little bit and then some 30 settlements, that's it. Then for your long campaign victory, you need to achieve the short victory, of course, to occupy, loot, raise or sack 80 different settlements, then to control 13 of a very long list of settlements. These are basically, you know, the capitals or important settlements from all over the world. For instance, the ancient city of Quintex, where Morathi is, you know, that sort of idea. So my typical advice with these sort of, because it's difficult to select a path of the 13 settlements. So basically just continue conquering, and at one point you'll have like 7 already, or you'll have like 6 already, and then you can start planning out. Just planning the 13 in the beginning, well, you can do that, but I wouldn't advise it. It's too much. So you want to have fun, not planning. So achieving this, it's Lord Recruit rank plus 10 to all provinces. Really good, of course, especially with Tzeentch, because you focus so much in magic, so you'll likely want something, you know, great right at the start, and you can get a couple of spells with the Lord, and that's it. Okay. Now, speaking of the Lord that you start, the legendary Lord Vilitch the Curseling, he is the essence of anarchy, so he benefits from vessels, gaining increased buried hit points and spreading Tzeentch corruption. He has access to a modified changing of the ways. It doesn't state there, but it's not exactly the same. His forces receive benefits from having high winds of magic, so the better high winds of magic you have, the better for you, for your forces. He also converts a portion of own battle casualties into souls. So if you're taking some casualties, it's kind of fine because you're converting them into souls, which is great. And he has access to the Tzeentch teleport stance. So more on that. This is mostly regarding mechanics. I'll speak of those later on, but they're very good, very thematic as well. Still focused on, you know, the deception and the magic. Okay. Then we have the climates. So basically, they're non-existent. Of course, for Chaos, that's the best part. They don't have to worry too much. They can conquer anywhere, which is great, perfect for a domination campaign. So your starting location, a 2-settlement province, is very defensible, very easy. You start completely on a corner of the map, which basically you only have 2 directions to go. And you have time to expand as well and build a bit before progressing into further conquests. So even if you just conquer a small part and you can build it up a little bit, that's always excellent. A typical expansion will nearly always lead into crossing the Bastion at one point, which still should be an interesting battle anyways. Then conquering all of Cathay, and then it's really up to you. You'll have a sea lane if you want. You'll have the option of going through the mountains, through the ogres, and then proceeding as you prefer. And really, that's the best thing. You know, you do have some nice options, and you have such a defensible position. It's really a wonderful starting location. So in terms of diplomacy, it's very simple. You're part of Chaos, and only those that are Chaos aligned, such as Norska or Chaos Dwarfs, should really be your friends. Dark Elves may also prove a likely ally, since Cathay, you're going to be fighting them, they dislike that, they will like you for that, so that's also a good likely ally, but for the most part, you're going to be fighting even amongst your kin. You're going to be fighting Chaos factions, other Norskans. Then you're going to be fighting ogres, greenskins, maybe Skaven. You'll likely be they will likely be more on your way to victory than anything else, but you can also ally them. So you have to be selective on which allies you get, or else they may end up having settlements that you may wish for yourself. So gaining some missile troops from both the Dark Elves or the Chaos Dwarfs, some flyers and artillery pieces should be a good idea, and of course some single entities or monsters infantry from Norska. All of those should give you quite some variety in your compositions. So, souls are a unique currency harvested by fighting anything that is not demons. They're used for heroes and lords to achieve marks of chaos and for the gifts of chaos mechanic. This right here. In essence, it's a series of buffs that you can have. These ones, of course, dedicated to Tzeentch, these ones in Undivided, and of course it will give you some units instantly to your gifted unit pool, some other effects such as barrier hit points and cooldown effects, some research rate here, which is excellent. I can't wait to have that. So Tzeentch really can aspire from knowledge, so yeah, it builds on into that. Of course, you select these ones and then you have some upkeep. You can remove these ones. That's sort of the idea. And for this, you use those souls. You also use souls for the paths of chaos. So let me show you on this hero here. You have the path to glory to gain the marks of chaos. Then you need this amount of souls to make this Chaos Sorcerer become devoted to Tzeentch, Lore of Metal, or devoted to Tzeentch with Lore of Tzeentch. So you kind of change, these guys kind of change. It's such a good mechanic, you know, that, you know, they are becoming more influential with Tzeentch, so suddenly they get into the marks of Chaos of Tzeentch, of course. You have all these nice buffs that you can get with various challenges. So for instance, if I end my turn with over 80 Winds of Magic reserves, I get the penumbral pendulum with this hero here, which is excellent because he doesn't have the penumbral pendulum normally. You know, he's a sorcerer of metal. So all of those typical buffs are good to make it such a varied gameplay. That's the best thing about this Path of Glory, is that you can just maintain, you can avoid, you know, marking them for chaos if you wish. You can just continue with a normal chaos sorcerer of metal, or you may wish to go into devoting them to Tzeentch. So that's always your choice, which is great. Now, then we have the Eye of the Gods. This is a series of dilemmas based on the number of active gifts. These offer powerful rewards, so you gotta be on the lookout for them when they happen. Now, Authority. Authority is a way to gain a more casual replenishment rate and less upkeep as well to a specific alignment. So of course, you know, you do have Undivided, and then you have the choice for the Tzeentch alignment in this case. Very straightforward way to customize your armies in the long run. So of course with Vilitch it's about going into Tzeentch based stuff, but it's possible to mix them with Undivided if you choose. Now your units, they actually recruit instantly, so what you actually are looking for is to then later upgrade them. So what you can do is use this mechanic to warband upgrades to upgrade into specific units, okay? And all that you need to spend is just a little bit of gold. So imagine that I don't want Marauders of Tzeentch right now. What I want is actually some Marauders of Tzeentch with spears. Maybe I'm facing large units, so I need some anti-large, and I can just upgrade them, and then later on I can upgrade them back. So you have this alternative. As long as you pay a little bit of money, you always have this alternative, which is great. You also have the gifted units, so you can recruit these units if you have the space, of course, the slots for it. These are filled in. You can have 6 of these in any army, which is great as well. So yeah, that's all. Let's go in terms of that idea. Now, in terms of buildings, you can also only build at the Dark Fortress sites for your whole building tree. Everything else is just a minor settlement, so you don't get to build everything there, and for the most part you'll be gifting those to your vassals. And vassals are very important for any Warriors of Chaos faction, because you can direct them, you can tell them to defend the target, you can build some outposts there, and of course that basically just means that you have like an endless tide of vassals really easily, which helps out enormously. Now, Vilitch specifically, he has the unique teleport stance, more on that later. Okay, and you also receive some bonuses for the Winds of Magic. So for instance here, if it is, you know, over 80 to 100, you get some Tzeentch Authority and more unit experience gain, which helps out tremendously so that you can get to Chosen much faster, for instance, you know. And then, of course, you have the changing of the ways. Not all of it, it would be so OP. But still, you have some interesting ones, including Break Alliance. You do need a tech to get that, but you have this. You do have Spawnify to add 3 Chaos Spawn to any army. That includes your allies or your enemies even. The AI typically does it to enemies even, so I don't know why. But I would give them to my allies, of course, by all means. I would just give them to my allies, and that helps out a lot. And you can, of course, reveal Shroud, Drain Magic, which is great. 40 Winds of Magic from a targeted army. Let me just do this so that you can see that suddenly, you know, I've changed that, and it changed actually my upkeep, if not mistaken. So it's really cool. You can... Actually, it doesn't work immediately like that. Okay, it gives you some power reserve +5 per turn, as you can see there. But it's actually good because it's siphoning and it withdraws from them. So that's the whole idea. But yeah, these changing of the ways give it a little bit of feel for Tzeentch, especially the Break Alliance. Later on, it's going to be so much fun. You know, someone, you know, you have the Order Tide going against you and just put dwarfs against the Empire and that sort of idea. I like it. So it's very thematic, even though I would like a little bit more into the changing of the ways. I think they could have a little bit more without having this. It's already nice to have the reduced movement range and leadership of a targeted army, but still, you know, I would like some more here. There's certainly a premise for that, but who knows? They'll add it. But yeah, those are the mechanics for the for Vilitch and of course the Wars of Chaos here. So in terms of province edicts, you have some Tzeentch corruption, both in your province and in the adjacent provinces, which is good. Then you have the defensive one, enemy movement range, enemy hero action success range reduced, less attrition if you are under siege, and more melee defense. So this is mostly to be used on a rough spot, really. Then you have a chance of a plague spreading reduced for the armies in the province, research rate +10%, which is great, and the chance of Winds of Magic changing strength +25%. Since you do have a good relation with the Winds of Magic, you ought to have this, especially with the research rate. It's good to have a couple of them so that they are reduced overall. Then we also have the typical minus control in exchange for reduced construction costs and some local warband recruitment, more replenishment chance for, of course, the Marauders of Tzeentch. All good ones, very interesting ones. Then we have the army stances. So a very quick glance here to the teleport stance. You need Winds of Magic, and then this works kind of like the Underway, but is it even better? Yes! Because you also can attack after you move, which is amazing. You can teleport attack, which means that, you know, it's kind of like setting an ambush anywhere. You can just teleport attack into anywhere, but always remember that you need those Winds of Magic. That's why you need to have a good relation of gaining Winds of Magic, and for that you do have those mechanics. Then you have Winds of Magic Power Reserve, +15 per turn. So, you know, spending some turns in channeling makes a lot more sense, so that later you can actually, on the next turn, maybe you can use the Winds of Magic to teleport. You see that sort of idea? And then you do have Encamp for 50% movement and allowing replenishment and immunity to attrition, which is nice. You have Raiding, which does cost 25%. And you do have a unit experience gain per turn, +75, which is pretty cool. Then we do have the I'm a little bit under the weather, so apologies. We do have the ambush stance as well. 25% movement costs, and of course hidden until discovered. This is great, all great that actually you do have at least the typical stances, and that you have that teleport, which is so good, so cool. In terms of buildings, it has a rather unique approach because of the warband upgrades mechanic. So again, what you unlock, I've mentioned this, is the fact that you can recruit this unit and the bases. Okay, you unlock just a basic version of that unit so that you can more easily upgrade from that. So more importantly, from Chaos Warriors. As soon as you have this, you'll likely just want to recruit Chaos Warriors and then get them upgraded, get them to chosen much easier, because you already start with Chaos Warriors instead of having Chaos Marauders initially. Okay, Now you have 6 military buildings and infrastructure ones, of course. So 6 military buildings, of course, you can build them all in each fortress, but it's not really that required, okay? So maybe just with 2 fortresses you're going to have enough, and still you can go into the infrastructure, because the infrastructure is really good. You have a growth and replenishment that can reach insane levels. It's really awesome. Then we have an income, and income from post-battle loot and from sacking settlements. Try to get this one in every single one of your dark fortresses. Very important. So at least later on you can have a sacking economy, which is really great, and it's very fun to have. You have some control, income from all buildings, and Zinj corruption in both adjacent provinces and your province. So it's always important to have that corruption out, which is very good, and to at least get the enemy to have to worry about the corruption, which is always cool. As for the minor settlements, let me show you not the Bastion one. It's like, oh, Dragon's Crossroad, there we have it. So what you have is basically some minor buffs, province-wide buffs, or sometimes in the adjacent ones. So Winds of Magic, it's very important to have, that's why I built it, in the local province, and of course casualty replenishment there. You also have a warband upgrades costing minus 20% for all units. This is great to ensure that you at least you have one place where you can just go and you can upgrade your units. So if you know always where their place goes, you can just recruit some warband units and then you go there. It costs a little bit less. It's kind of like a hidden income building, really, because you're going to save money with this. Then we have a magic item drop chance and souls gained from battles in adjacent regions. So it's always good to have at least one of these in around a place that you're going to be raising and sacking and conquering. So it's really great to ensure that you get those. And then of course you have a defense building. This is mainly just to ensure that you get to defend that location. So overall very useful. Not necessarily everywhere, but you should definitely take advantage of those here and there. Now, research. It changes for Vilitch, it changes for the other Champions of Chaos. So he has a unique tech tree, mostly based around the mechanics from the from Zinj, of course, because you're going to have some enabling warp flame attacks, you know, for chosen, for inspiring champions, you know. You're going to have maximum active gifts for gifts of Zinj. You're going to have some army abilities such as the Storm of Fire. So all of this builds into that Zinj idea. So suddenly when you get to the end, you'll likely be thinking that you're starting to play with Kairos instead of Vilitch, you know, because it's just going to be so much into that as well. And yeah, you're going to unlock, of course, the capacity to have specific gifts of Zinj, of course, and some more armor here for your units, etc. So it's always good to explore a little bit of the research, and remember that you have so many buffs. Definitely Vilitch will likely be one of the fastest to conclude the research, and then of course you have more time and more turns, so you can benefit from all of that research focus into the late game. So yeah, definitely one of the best Warriors of Chaos to use and to abuse that research, all of that research throughout the game. So as always, you have your Lord specific skills. You have the magic ones and the melee ones, with what would be the traditionally stated the yellow line. Then you have the red line or army, and then you have the blue line or campaign. Now let's start with the blue line. You do have those souls gained from battles and increased experience gain, which is excellent. You also have some warband upgrades reduction. So if you combine that with the previous building that we talked about in the minor settlements, it's already minus 30% for all warband upgrades if you're doing it correctly, and if you have this, which is excellent. You know, it just allows you to quickly upgrade your units without having to expand too much, or sometimes to just upgrade them back, you know, to just switch them as you need for that battle, and it's really cool. Then we have the army. The red line is one of the best. It's one of the less expensive ones. It buffs. They're streamlined into mortal and then demon units, really, for the most part. So you can have great combos with very few skill points allocated. I already mentioned that. Remember that authority is actually what gives you replenishment and upkeep reduction, but you do have even more replenishment here, which is excellent. And then you have also that fate in flux, giving you some more income from post-battle loot, from souls. So you may go into the lightning strike and try out this, but it's really up to you. Biggest issue that I see with Zinj is that they focus so much into the magic as well, that you're going to have some troubles, it's not like Volkia, for instance, where you're going to have definitely some red line, definitely some blue line, and definitely all of the melee that you want. You're going to have to choose, and those choices may be a big of a problem. So comparing the Warriors of Chaos, the Champions of Chaos, actually, likely you're going to have some more trouble with Vilitch, trying to understand where you want the spells, where you want more melee stuff. So it's really up to you. He doesn't gain anything here other than Deadly Onslaught and Foe Seeker, so there's no specific abilities. So maybe you want to go more further into the magic, other than going to melee. He's already quite a powerful one, and he's not going to beat Scarbrand anytime soon. So yeah, it's kind of that sort of idea. Okay. So these are the red line skills for the units of the Warriors of Chaos roster. It's the most extensive one overall, and this is just with the Tzeentch part, so you can imagine it's really a problem to get everything in the same page. I hope it is visible, really. So very good options here overall, because you have all the cavalry, all the monsters in one place. It's just mainly this division between the demonic units, and you're kind of going to choose anyways. So yeah, that's basically it. So of course you're always going to have some infantry for the most part. So yeah, it's a good. That's why it's so good, because for the most part you're not going to spend too much, and you're going to be able to have a very varied army, even with just a few skill choices. Speaking of which, so Vilitch, he only gives some nice buffs. He focuses a lot on magic. He doesn't give a lot of buffs to your units. Just some replenishment rate for Forsaken, Spawn of Tzeentch, less upkeep. Of course, those are important, and you can have a very cheap army. So that's sort of the idea that I'm going here in the first one, to explain a little bit of how I do my ideas here. So Forsaken, Spawn. If we go here, Forsaken are included here, and the Spawn are included here. So of course I'm going to try to get some units from here and some units from here to try and make it up a good composition. Which is, I tried, well, let's go to single entities. Flyers are always nice, the giants are always nice to have, just to have a variety. You can see how different this army feels for this one, okay, immediately. And it's something that I could try on. It's not something that I would say, oh, say, Forsaken are much better than Chosen. No. Please don't ever say that I said that. It's just for flavor. So if you want to use this as in a flavor sort of campaign initially, and then you want to upgrade into the other, you're not going to miss out too many skill points, because for the most part, you can honestly use this one, in retrospect later on, and all you need is 3 more skill points. So that's the sort of idea. And of course, units like the Chosen of Tzeentch, they're perfect, they're really good, because you have the holding infantry, and then you have the all-purpose infantry. These are anti-large with armor piercing, so it's great. And then you have some missiles if you want, or some monstrous infantry to continue with the Spawn idea. You could have the giants here. You can imagine how cool that would look like. So there's a lot of possibilities in terms of the roster. This one would likely be my to-go in the beginning, or in the first playthrough, just to have a sort more of a Tzeentch feel to it. But definitely I wouldn't say no to, some Spawn here and there, at least in the beginning of the game. Then for Chaos Lords, of course, they do give some nice physical resistance. These ones then I will focus into more of the Chosen, of the Chaos Knights, of course, but nothing really wrong with giving them some missile troops as well, just some Lords of Change here, some Hellfire Cannons there. It's really up to you what units you're going to pick up on there, but note that they are very good in terms of redline skills, so you're not going to spend too much to have some variety in the game. And then some more changes here, some more ideas, because you do get that slight melee attack and perfect vigor. Those are kind of nice. It doesn't make me want to go completely into this, but the same thought process happens. When you're buffing the Forsaken in the line, you're also buffing the Chosen. So if you want a cheaper army overall, you can start with one and then you can upgrade into the other without too much pressure, of course. This is just an army that would be very mobile. It's very mobile, it has a lot of missiles as well. This one, the same idea, but having the Chosen as a sort of a pinch. These will move slower when they reach the battle, because these ones will kind of likely reach it faster. But when these guys reach the battle, it's supposed to be, the enemy should be so depleted that it cannot engage these guys. So yeah, just a couple of combinations for you to try out. Of course, feel free to speak about the combinations that you use, even if it is just a full stack of chosen or a full stack of spawns. Just let me know. I always like to know what people are using overall in their games. As always, the Lord and the hero selection, it's really up to you how many heroes you're going to put out, which type of hero, which type of lore of magic. It's really up to you. What I always advise is to have at least a melee hero or support hero, something that can help your lord against the enemy lord, and to have a caster. At least one caster. Magic is so important. So any army that really, or any army roster that doesn't have any magic, like Khorne or like the dwarves, but they do, but they don't. You know the idea. It's not as as cool as all the amazing spells that Tzeentch has, for instance. But yeah, with a magic caster, it's so much better to have overall some versatility. That's why I always recommend to have it. So Vilitch is quite a different playthrough due to the focus on magic, of course, but also on his starting location. Similar to how Valkia starts, but on the other side, and very defensible, and you feel the sort of bane of the world idea, where you go forth, the enemies are aware of your arrival, but you're going to go forth and spread and kill everything in your path. Having access to some of the Tzeentch's mechanics with the changing of the ways means that you do have some control, including diplomatically a little bit, of what is happening, and it creates a nice campaign in itself. Particularly noteworthy is also the teleport stance, which in itself it's already an amazing tactical recourse that you're going to have, and you'll likely benefit from it throughout the whole campaign. Now, for the most part, your army consists of great infantry, great cavalry, average missiles, great monsters and single entities, good flyers. You're relying on upgrading units, and you do require some time for the elite troops. Now, replenishment is great, especially due to climate. There's no issues with climate. This helps cement this campaign as one of the best for, of course, total map completion. So time to follow Vilitch for the glory of Tzeentch, just as planned.